Once you've wrapped up this podcast, how about trying a very British cult?
What happens if the person you trust with your future isn't what you think they are?
I did feel the whole time he was watching me.
Yeti?
I saw a footprint, and that really gave me goosebumps.
Or people who knew me?
Emmy, I remember every secret, every lie. I'm the only one who knows the truth.
Discover more of our biggest podcasts from 2023. Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast, bringing you all the news, insight and analysis that you need to start your week. It is Monday, the 11th of December already. I'm Liam McLeod, and coming up today...
Armstrong up to the edge, he slips into Matty Kennedy, it's in! It's in! Goal Kilmarnock!
Have Kilmarnock blown the title race wide open with their stunning win over Celtic at Rugby Park? Also, have the doubters been proven wrong?
Oh, Duke's away, Duke's away, Duke's away, it's got to be! It is! Oh! Make a beer F, what a header! I'm actually excited, can you hear me?
We'll look back on what could be a huge weekend for Stuart Kettlewell and Barry Robson. And is this man now feeling the heat?
I knew how hard it was going to be. I had the choice. I didn't need to be here. I chose to be here. I'm up for the fight. I'm up for the challenge.
We'll discuss what's going wrong at Livingston and what it means for David Martindale.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Well, thank you for joining us and thank you for downloading. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe at BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts normally. I'm joined by the Kilmarnock legend, Cammy Bell, off the back of that win over Celtic. And I don't use the term legend lightly. I was there working when I saw Cammy lift silverware at Kilmarnock back in 2012. And I think I said this to you last time I was talking to you, Cammy. I can't quite believe that it's nearly 12 years since you guys under Kenny Shiels lifted the League Cup with that victory over Celtic at Hampden. And the quiz question of who scored the winning goal for Kilmarnock. If you're not a Killie fan, you might not get it, but Dieter van Tornout on his 27th birthday, scoring the only goal of the final all those years ago now. I mean, just wonderful memories for you in a sporting sense.
Yeah, amazing, Liam. Just brilliant memories for me and for the club as well. Listen, Kilmarnock don't win many trophies, as we know, throughout their history, so just to give the fans that special day. Every time I go back and do media work now, you meet the fans outside the stadium and most of them will say that it was the best day of their lives. Again, so unexpected at the time as well, against such a strong Celtic team in the final. And yes, I've listened back to your commentary as well, Liam. It was very good that day. Very complimentary of myself, so thank you very much. But brilliant memories and absolutely loved it.
Yes, it doesn't happen too often. Maybe my voice was just breaking at the time, but it went into this ridiculous high-pitched octave that I don't think I've been able to reach ever since. It's like Axl Rose style. It was quite something. But no silverware for Kilmarnock on Sunday, but a fabulous victory over the same opposition. We've got lots more to come from Cammy. We'll also be hearing from Livingston supporter Ewan Rankin. But first, let's quickly run through, as we always do, the Scottish football headlines. Well, as we were saying, Killie put in a brilliant performance to come from behind and beat Celtic 2-1 at Rugby Park on Sunday. It leaves the visitors 5 points ahead of rivals Rangers at the top of the Premiership. That after the Ibrox side beat Dundee 3-1 at home on Saturday, and it solidifies Kilmarnock's place in the top six. David Martindale insists he's up for the fight after Hibernian condemned the bottom side Livingston to their 7th successive Premiership defeat, while Stuart Kettlewell and Barry Robson are breathing sighs of relief at the start of the working week after they salvaged a draw and win respectively on Saturday against St Johnstone and Hearts. There's no change at the summit of the SWPL after first place Rangers and chaser Celtic recorded routine wins over Motherwell and Spartans respectively. Queen's Park are looking for a new head coach this morning after parting company with Robin Feldman following their 4-1 hammering by Cally Thistle. And the Aston Villa captain, John McGinn, says he's banning the T word after scoring the winner against Arsenal to move his side just 2 points behind the leaders Liverpool.
The Scottish Football Podcast.
The T word, I'm assuming, is title. But let's start at Rugby Park. And Cammy, What a performance from Kilmarnock it was, particularly in that second half. There's not too many teams come from a goal behind against the champions and record a victory, and Killy did so.
Yeah, they did, Liam, and they were fantastic. The Celtic started the game really strongly. First 20 minutes put Kilmarnock under a lot of pressure, sustained pressure as well, that Kilmarnock just couldn't get their foot into the game. Will Dennis had a couple of really good moments, good saves I would expect them to make, but good moments in the game. And then Kilmarnock just started to find their feet within the game at that moment as well, and they created a number of opportunities themselves, but obviously Celtic took the lead, and then it was just a complete change in the second half. Kilmarnock pressed them further up the pitch, made it more difficult for them, a lot more energy, and I think there was just more belief, Liam, as well. I think what, again, Derek McInnes had said at half-time would have been, look, believe in yourselves, you are well within their game, and I wouldn't have said Kilmarnock particularly played that well in the first half, but they stayed within the game. So Derek McInnes would have just said, go and believe in yourselves, and they absolutely did. There's key players for Kilmarnock, we all know that. Again, Vassell's a big player, he's a handful up front, but the two guys for me are Danny Armstrong and Matty Kennedy. They're real game changers for Kilmarnock. They can create lots of opportunities, make it difficult for defences. It was a team performance, but again, they're so important for Kilmarnock.
We're certainly seeing the best of Matty Kennedy. Again, I don't think there's any doubt. I was quite surprised Aberdeen allowed him to leave quite so easily. And Danny Armstrong was magnificent in the match, quite clearly. And he's such an important player for Derek McInnes. If he's playing well, Kelly generally play well. And it's 3 wins over the Old Firm in 4 games this season. That superb victory at Pittodrie during the week as well. They went to Tynecastle and got a point. What's the secret, do you think, to the success at the moment? I know they've still got their issues on the road, but at home they've been just wonderful at Rugby Park. The season ticket holders there must be loving life just now.
Yeah, listen, they've been absolutely magnificent. For 18 months now at home, they've been really, really good, really strong since they've joined the league again, since they've been promoted and Derek McInnes has came in. He's made it a fortress. Teams are uncomfortable there. Listen, we can speak about the AstroTurf pitch, but everyone knows that it is an AstroTurf pitch. They've been in the league long enough now. They know what they're going to go and face. I know Brendan Rodgers had a few comments about it, but you prepare to play on that pitch. That you know that you're going to face that. I just think Kilmarnock, especially against the better teams, they can defend for periods of time, and then they're very good on the counter-attack. They've got good counter-attacking players. We spoke about Matty Kennedy and Danny Armstrong. I think when you've got other guys like Brad Lyons on the pitch, he likes to play a forward pass, but he can break up play as well. Vassell's so strong up front, and when you're under sustained pressure, if your ball goes up to Kyle Vassell, 9 times out of 10, he will hold the ball up, and he'll get his team up the pitch, or he'll buy a foul, he'll win a throw-in further up the pitch. So he's a very, very industrial striker to have in your team. So I just think looking at the team this season, Derek McInnes has made some really good signings. He's improved what they had from last year. Matty Kennedy, as you touched on, he was a star signing for me. When they managed to get him, as you say, from Aberdeen, it seemed very easy for me because I think he's a top player at this level. And he's a real game changer because Kilmarnock relied on Danny Armstrong a lot last season. If he didn't have a very good game, then they struggled in most of them games. But now they've got 2 or 3 players that they know if one of them isn't hitting the heights that they normally hit, then they can rely on these other players. They've got Vassell, they've got Armstrong, they've got Kennedy. And again, they've made some good signings at the back. Robbie Dees, for me, is a really good signing from Inverness. Yeah. Well, he's stepped up to the plate, and there's probably a lot of question marks. Could he do it at the top level? He's absolutely proven that he can do it at this level, and it's been a brilliant start against the top teams for Kilmarnock.
Now, obviously, Celtic supporters are going to be concerned. I don't think they've been particularly impressed across the season so far, despite the fact they were sitting in a very comfortable position. That gap at the top now 5. Rangers have a game in hand as well. What's not working for them just now, do you think?
I think the consistency, and Brendan did touch on the consistency within a game. I don't think I can think back to many games that they've been bang at it for 90 minutes. I feel like they play well for periods in games, and sometimes they're not being ruthless enough and killing the game off at that moment in time. There was moments in today's game that they could have killed the game off, and if it goes 2-0, it's a different game. It becomes more difficult. So, yeah, I feel the inconsistency in their performances, intensity as well. I don't feel as if they play at the same intensity. I know I'm comparing Celtic, Brendan Rodgers under to what Ange Postecoglou done, and they're miles away from that. They don't play with the same intensity, and they have got a different style, so I appreciate that. But I just feel that something's definitely not clicking in there. It just seems as if when they don't get that 2-goal lead, they're always very, very vulnerable. They're vulnerable at the back. I'm not convinced by their defence at this moment in time. So there's a number of problems there, Liam, to be honest, and I think the title race is absolutely back on.
Well, moving on, let's take a little look at Saturday's games. I mean, the stakes were so high for, in particular, you would have to say, Barry Robson and Stuart Kettlewell. And we got unbelievable late drama in both those matches, in Motherwell and in Aberdeen. Looking at the Steelmen first, Cammy, I mean, they're 1-0 down to St Johnstone. It's a horrible goal they concede, the OG. Mika Bereth pops up late on. Quite probably has saved his manager his job, hasn't he?
Yeah, again, I don't know where Motherwell are at with regards to looking to sack or move Stuart Kettlewell on. They're on a horrendous run. I think that's 13 games without a win. That's a long run, Liam, for any team to not win a game of football in the league. So, yeah, he was under massive pressure. It was a big goal, but a worry for Motherwell because I look defensively, how many goals they are shipping, how poor a goal they're losing as well. The quality, it's not taking an unbelievable strike to beat them. They're gifting teams goals, and that's a massive issue. And Stuart has tried to change it. He's tried to change personnel. He's tried to change the structure of his team, his tactics slightly as well. He touched on that after the game, that he had tried to change his tactics, be a little bit more direct when your team's not got a lot of confidence. So it was a massive goal. Yes, I agree with that. But listen, the next game's another huge game for Stuart Kettlewell and where his future's going to be at.
And for Aberdeen, Barry Robson, 2-1 win over Hearts. Leighton Clarkson scoring that goal at the end. Did Duke mean to set him up? Because the guys in sports scene later on, I know you were on the results programme, at the highlights, they thought he was trying to chip the goalkeeper and score himself. I personally thought it was an outstanding assist. Where do you stand on that? And how big a result was that one for Robson?
First, I'll touch on Duke's ball. I think it's a brilliant pass, Liam. I'm honestly...
It is, of course it is.
I genuinely think he's meaning to pass it. I think he's seen Clarkson and he's got it. He has to get inch perfect if he is meaning to do it. But I do think he is meaning to do it. And it's a tap-in for Clarkson. But what a big goal that was for Barry Robson and for Aberdeen. Especially what they've got coming up. We've got a cup final facing them soon. They've obviously got the European game as well. But it was a big goal because they have been struggling in the league this season. They've not put any consistent run together. Barry, again, the way that he was speaking, I don't think he felt as if he was under pressure, but he absolutely was. Listen, the fans weren't happy. But to go a goal behind as well, it showed real character because the fans at Pittodrie would have been letting them know what they thought of them in the first half. So the players stood up to that and scored 2 brilliant goals. Again, Majowski, such a big player for them, and it's going to be big question marks at the club, I would imagine, in January, because I'm pretty sure there'll be a number of people trying to take him away from the club, but he's a player that Aberdeen absolutely need to keep.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Saturday's other matches, St Mirren got back to winning ways. 2-0 victory over Ross County. Derek Adams' first defeat since taking charge. And Livingston losing at home to Hibs. Martin Boyle with the only goal. 7th successive defeat for Livingston, which is a dire position to be in. They're 5 points behind St Johnstone and Motherwell, though they do have a game in hand over the former and 2 in hand over the latter. So what's the mood at Ammonvale like? Here to tell us is Ewan Rankin, who's the co-host of the Talk Livi podcast. Ewan, hello.
Hi, thanks for having me on, Leon.
It's good to have you. I'd imagine you're not in the best of spirits at the moment. It's a horrible run. It must be pretty tough to watch that week on week, is it?
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's just been recently. I think if you look back to the start of February, where we had the quite heavy cup defeat at home to Inverness last season, the run of form in the league has been horrific, to put it bluntly. It's 29 games in the league, 5 wins, 6 draws, 18 defeats, so 21 points from 87 available. It's been really poor to watch, and if you look at a kind of capitulation at the tail end of last season, missing out on top 6, I think that included 8 away defeats on the bounce without scoring as well. Albeit we kind of looked like we might have dragged our way out of that at the start of this season. What was it? 3 defeats from our opening 14 if you include the League Cup ties. But yeah, the recent run of form, it's 1 goal from open play in our last 10, 7 defeats on the bounce, 6 of those without scoring. I think that's equalled the record from 1999 that Aberdeen set. So it's very difficult viewing just now. In particular, it's not even the fact we're losing games, it's the fact that we don't even look like threatening to win games. That's probably my biggest concern watching us just now.
Where do you think it's going wrong? Because, even we're talking about Kilmarnock's home form on the synthetic surface, and much is made of it. It's the same at Livingston. Were always so strong at home. They pick up the odd point away. Generally speaking, it was the home form that kept the head above the waterline. Where is the biggest problem for you?
I think I spoke to the manager at the start of the season, and he made a big point about saying we had to get back to what we were good at in terms of being difficult to beat, and we conceded too many goals last year. I think it was 60 goals we conceded last season, which was the most since we've returned to the top flight. And so I can understand him wanting to be a bit more solid, and that probably explains why he's gone to a back 3 for the vast majority of this season. But I feel he's gone too far in one direction, and it's all about trying to stop the opposition. His team selection's changing week on week. It's a lot, I think Rory Loy used it describing us after the St Mirren game, which was square pegs, round holes, which I think if you asked a large proportion of Livingston fans, it would probably be the term that they would use to kind of describe a lot of the team selections. We had Joel Newbley in that particular game playing as a right wing back when we've got 2 right wing backs sitting on the bench and Jamie Brandon and Miles Welsh-Hayes. It just makes no sense. Why is he playing Joel Newbley out in that position? And it's, as I say, he's overthinking, I feel like, every game, but it's all focused on trying to stop the opposition instead of looking at how we can hurt teams. Because I wholeheartedly believe that we've got the players available at our disposal that we could cause teams problems in this league. I've no doubt about that. If you look back at our game at Easter Road earlier in the season, that's probably the one time in the league this year where you can turn around and go, we targeted Hibs in the wide areas. They conceded a lot of goals from cross balls the early part of the season, and we scored 2 goals from crosses. So we're capable of it. But as I say, I feel the manager's kind of stuck in this rut of talking about we need to deal with entries into our box, we need to get physicality on the pitch. There's guys like Stephen Kelly who have barely had a kick at a ball this season, and he won just about every Player of the Year award at our Player of the Year's Club Player of the Year awards at the tail end of last season, and he's barely kicked a ball this season. And you just can't understand it as a fan. And as I say, I can cope with us losing games of football. We're going to go on these little runs. Martindale has been on these little runs before whilst he's been in charge, but as I say, it's the lack of threat that we have to win games of football that's really, really concerning.
Just finally then, Ewan, can Livingston get out of this? I mean, right now, they look a stick on for relegation. Can you upset the odds again and come back fighting and stay up?
I always thought this season was going to be our toughest. You look at the kind of budget cuts, which the manager's spoken a lot about in the media, and we do have the lowest budget in the division, so every season is going to be a challenge for us. But I always thought this year was going to be toughest, given how we finished last year. It was, as I say, there was bad traits just setting in at the tail end of last year, and it's lingering back into the side in this kind of recent run of form. Unless the manager changes his approach in terms of trying to go and win games of football, in terms of trying to cause teams problems instead of always thinking about how to be compact and stop teams from playing and stop teams creating chances, I can't see us getting out of it, if I'm totally honest. And it kind of pains me to say that, because I do think we've got the players at our disposal that could get us out of this mess if the manager kind of almost lets them off the leash a little bit and allows them to be a bit more creative, allows them to create opportunities in games. But I just, at this moment in time, as I say, I just feel like he's stuck in a rut of a way of thinking, and I can't see us getting out of it at this moment in time.
Well, we shall see. There's still plenty of time, isn't there? We need to wrap things up on today's podcast now, though. Unfortunately, my thanks to Cammy Bell and Ewan Rankin for joining us today, and thank you very much for listening. Remember, we are with you every single day. Keep your comments and questions coming to scottishfootball@bbc.co.uk. All the European action to come across the week. Celtic Feyenoord on Wednesday, Aberdeen Eintracht Frankfurt on Thursday, before what is the big one this week, the other two being pretty inconsequential as far as progression's concerned. But Rangers are in Seville to play Real Betis in the Europa League. All live in Sports Sound. For now though, bye-bye.
Just a quick word to say the Scotland Rugby podcast is now available every Tuesday. Join me, Andy Burke and Tom English for everything you need to know about the world of Scottish rugby. Just head to BBC Sounds and subscribe to the Scotland Rugby podcast.
Once you've wrapped up this podcast, how about trying a very British cult?
What happens if the person you trust with your future isn't what you think they are?
I did feel the whole time he was watching me.
Yeti?
I saw a footprint, and that really gave me goosebumps.
Or people who knew me?
Emmy, I remember every secret, every lie. I'm the only one who knows the truth.
Discover more of our biggest podcasts from 2023. Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. I'm Alasdair Lamont, and this is a slight departure from usual. In this special episode, we'll be hearing from Scotland star Kieran Tierney, who I had the pleasure of catching up with a couple of days ago. The Arsenal defender, who's currently on loan at Real Sociedad, was on terrific form as he discussed his return from injury, his excitement about playing for Scotland at Euro 2024 and life in San Sebastian. So, without any further ado, here is Kieran Tierney in conversation with me for the Scottish Football Podcast.
You're listening to the Scottish Football Podcast.
Kieran, it's great to talk to you again. How does it feel to be back fit and playing again?
I'm buzzing. I was really devastated this time. Injuries are never easy to accept, but when you've just joined a club, you're playing well, you're enjoying everything about it, you're happy. It's that little bit extra, more difficult to take. And for the first day or two, not feeling sorry for myself, but I was just finding it hard to accept that I would have been out for a period of time. But once you do accept it, you get over it. Everyone at the club was brilliant with me to help me get over it, to help me stay positive, and like the time flew by as well.
Did you know, was it one of those ones you knew as soon as it happened that this was going to be a fair old chunk of time out of the team?
I knew you get that feeling as a player. I'd never pulled a muscle before, to be honest. I didn't know the feeling of that, but I knew when I felt something in my hamstring that it wasn't going to be great news, so I kind of accepted in my head there and then, like, this could be a couple of months.
But so to look on the positive side now that that's behind you, and there is lots to look forward to, but I guess just getting back out on the pitch against Osasuna, it must have been a terrific feeling.
Aye, even just the first day of training with the boys again is brilliant. Like, from the gym, you just look out every day, see them training, you just want to be a part of it, you want to help the team. There was so many games as well, like, close together, so many big games, few Champions League games that I'd missed, so you're dying to get back out there and train with the boys. And when I done that, it felt great. And obviously the Osasuna game, apart from the result, it was good to be back out there playing again.
Given that you were at a new club in a new country, was that time out as kind of mentally as challenging a period as you've had as a footballer?
I thought it was going to be. Like, I've had a couple of injuries long term as well in the past, and it's hard, but I think the way the club make me feel and how I'm treated and how much I'm enjoying it didn't make it any harder than if I was at Arsenal, if I was at Celtic. It was just, everything was the same. Like, you're in the gym, you're working hard, the days go by pretty quick, and you're basically just counting down the time till you're back in the pitch again.
And while you've obviously have been working hard to get back to full fitness, were you able to use some of the time to help adapt to the new city? And also, I know you'd started learning the language. How is that coming on?
It's getting better. I thought by now maybe I'd be a bit better than I am, but it's hard. You know yourself, like the verbs and future and past tense, and that is a lot to take in. So that's the kind of bit I'm on now. Try to work and piece that together. But it's fun. I enjoy learning it. Difficult at times. You need to study a lot, but it's a challenge that I set myself before I came here, and it's one that I kind of need to stick to every week, every couple of days, to try and learn as best as I can.
You need to make sure that your teammates are speaking to you in Spanish, because I bet loads of them speak to you in English. They want to practice their English.
A few of them do. They come to me for English lessons. A few of them speak Basque, a few of them speak Spanish. So it's good. I'm picking up wee bits of Basque here and there. It would have been too difficult to do lessons for both languages.
Absolutely.
So I'm picking up what I can, and that I'm doing Spanish, as that's what all the kind of boys they speak to each other in, and the manager. So try and learn that as best I can, and I would love to pick up as much Basque as I can as well.
Yeah, it's so tough though. I remember. I mean, it's so different from any other language I've ever seen. But it's great to pick up a couple of wee words and phrases, and I think the people there really appreciate when you do that, don't they?
Yeah, if you can pick up like your manners, like the hello, goodbye, thank you, please. If you can pick up the words, I think people, whether it's in the restaurant or in the streets that you meet, they respect that you're trying to learn their culture as well. Because it's not an easy language to learn if you've not grown up with it. But it is good. It's fun to try and learn these things.
So in terms of the football, Real Sociedad not far off the Champions League places, guaranteed knockout Champions League football after Christmas. So yeah, I mean, things are looking positive. You'll be dying to get back involved and make sure that the season's a success for them. Yeah,
for sure. That's the reason I came here, is I wanted to be as successful as it could be for Real Sociedad. I know they hadn't been in the Champions League for a good few years, so to be part of that is why I wanted. And I think missing a few of the games was one of the hardest things, but I came back, I was on the bench the other night, Champions League. I've got the Inter Milan away game in a few days as well, so, and obviously we've got the last 16 to look forward to as well, the knockout stages.
Yeah, and I think clearly that Inter game, if you go there, I think probably a draw would be enough to ensure you top the group, which would be phenomenal, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, and you're in a tough group. You've got last year's finalists in it. That's who we've got away from home in the last game to try and top the group. So it's a massive game, and it would be a great achievement for the club if you could top the group. It's already a great achievement for getting through. But no, amazing game, and hopefully be part of it.
And just as a small matter of a Euros to look forward to as well, I just wonder, you spoke really glowingly in terms of your praise of Steve Clarke previously. Has he been in touch over the last couple of months to just keep an eye on you almost?
Yeah, for sure. When I get injured, speaking to him for the first few days to try and help me as well, get my head around it. And then once we'd qualified, and he was thanking me for his efforts, saying like, I wish you were here, and all the boys wish you were here as well. So it's an amazing relationship we've got together, and I'm really grateful for him, as I've mentioned before.
Was it tough to miss that Spain game?
Aye, that was a tough game, especially you've got that bit of added incentive in it when you're playing against some of the teammates from Real Sociedad. I think there was 4 or 5 on the pitch that night, and obviously what it was at stake for Scotland is to try and top the group and qualify. So a massive game, and another one absolutely gutted that I missed, but that's life. Like, you can't do much about it, can't change it, so all you can do is focus on coming back as well as you can.
Yeah. And so what do you make of the draw?
A massive draw. To get the opening game as well in the Euros is amazing. It'll be one of the biggest games I think most of us will play in, like, to open the Euros in Germany. It'll be a great occasion for us in the full country, all the fans going there, all the fans watching at home. It'll be brilliant.
I'm old enough to remember opening the World Cup at France '98. You'll not be, but I mean, I can tell you that the entire nation was completely gripped by it, and I think it'll be the same again, won't it?
I think so, because I think if you just look over the last few years since kind of the last Euros, everyone's bought into it. Everyone is a massive Scotland fan now. I think if you were looking 5-6 years ago, you could see the stadium wasn't always full, wasn't always the best results, but I think we've clicked together as a country, as a team, as a set of fans, and I think there's nothing better, and I think it shows in all our kind of recent results and our recent successes, how much together we are as a country, and it'll be a special time.
And so how optimistic would you be about being able to get out of that group?
I think you need to believe you can. I think the last Euros, first one in a while, really excited we got there. But there was times where we could have done better, like been more composed, done different things, decision making. But I think now that we've been there and done that, it's a lot of the same boys as well, so we've got that experience of tournament football, so we're hoping we can go there better equipped. We're playing against amazing teams as well. It's a tough group. All 3 teams that we'll play has got great players, and it'll be tough, but I think we need to believe we can go through. Like, why not? What can you lose for believing? Believe that you can do it, and you try and get a result every game.
And you would imagine that teams come into games against Scotland now a bit wary. You know, it's certainly not a case of turn up and we'll turn this lot over, is it?
You would think not. I think if teams will do the video analysis and they'll look at games, they'll look at our recent results. So I think we've kind of earned respect over the last few years with some of the results, which is kind of what you want to do. You want to be up there with the best. So I don't know how they'll think about us, but you would hope they would give us the respect now for the last few years.
Yeah. So I think there are friendlies in March. Netherlands seems to be one of them away, and then a home game as well. You'll be very, very keen to get back involved for those, will you?
Yeah, definitely. The last Euros, I'm sure we played Netherlands as well before it. That was right before it, to be fair, but there's good teams to get you ready for the competition, because you're going to come up against teams like that who are top class and have got quality in all positions. So it'll be a great test for us, and watching the boys against France and that as well, it's another great test, it's experience for us still learning to try and get as high as we possibly can.
How important then, on a personal level for you, is it to be able to now get a run of like the next 5 months, essentially 6 months maybe, injury free, to just so you're in prime condition? I know you obviously priority in the short term is your club football, but that the Euros is a big thing to aim for, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. You want to go in to the Euros feeling good about yourself, feeling match fit, a lot of games under your belt the previous few months, so you can be in the best condition. I know that's not always the case for everyone. Sometimes people pick up injuries, sometimes people don't play before it, and you come and there is friendlies and training which do get you up to speed, but I think in yourself for a bit of confidence as well, as if you've been playing regularly over the last few months, it can only benefit you.
I just want to ask you briefly then about talking about the benefit of the last Euros for the guys who are going into the next one. I just wonder if you can kind of translate that almost to Arsenal, who are riding high clearly at the moment. Having gone close last year, do you think that experience of last season will serve them well as they try and get the title this season?
Yeah, I think so, 100%. I think last season we were ever so close and maybe lacked a little bit of experience in the last few games. But I think even with the signings, they're a stronger team this season. They've got more experience, and as you can see, the results are grinding out, whereas games where they're looking like they maybe only pick up a point, they'll pick up 3 points, and that's usually the sign of champions, when you can win. Maybe the odds are against you, you're not playing your best, but you find a way to win, and I think that's what they're doing so far as well.
Are the guys that you're still close to at the club, are they, I guess, in a positive mindset that they can just go all the way this season?
I've not spoke to them too much, and I don't think they would probably like to say too much this early on. I think when it gets to maybe the same kind of time as last year when we went downhill is when you'll be able to tell, because they've started so strong this year. They look brilliant. I've been keeping an eye on their games and watching when I can, so yeah, they're doing amazing, and I'm buzzing for all the boys.
It's Amy Irons here. I just wanted to tell you that Sacked in the Morning is back for a new series. We are your survival guide to football management. If you want to hear exactly what goes on in the dugouts and dressing rooms across the world, then we are the pod for you. And as ever, I'll be joined by former Scotland gaffer Craig Levine and some of football's best managers to provide all the insight you could possibly need. And you can find it on BBC Sounds. Just search for Sacked in the Morning.